Hey everybody, I'm bringing you a video about a hybrid system we're working on. Open that up, Kara. Okay, now what we've got in here is we have a whole lot of 230 amp hour golf cart batteries. These are all very good high quality batteries, and we're going to be taking these batteries, and then there's of course the older set that's in a different layout, different process. But we're going to be taking these. There's 24 of them, so 12 going into a big bar up there. Each one of them with 4-gauge cable, and so it's 1,200 plus, I guess you say 12 batteries, 125 amp. So it's about 1,500 amps can be drawn. Now, let's go inside. I'm going to show you what I'm designing. And now, I've done this already on 2 different job sites as a test, and it's working. So I'm going to now show you. Come on, let's go in there. Okay. Now, over here, this is just an example of operation, and that's what we're working with here. Here is a lithium battery, and inside this is a lead-acid battery. It's SLA, sealed lead-acid battery. This is a solar charger. I think some of you are going, huh, yeah. And now, I'm going to show you here, this is like an adapter, and you can buy like 10 of these adapters and put them on a wall if you want to. If you want to do it a different way, say. But I'm going to show you what I'm working with. Now, this is an example, and here's some of the materials we're going to be using. A dusk to dawn switch, a 60 amp SSR, solid state relay, a universal stop start timer, and I want to show you how this is all going to work. Now we're going to get on this piece of paper right here. Now what it shows the sun hitting a big row of Steon solar panels, 800 watts. Coming in, 40 amp MPPT, going into a lithium polymer battery, a lithium battery. So 80 amp hour battery that we'll build, we're going to be building it with cells, comes out of that battery and goes into this stuff. That's this right here. We're going to have a little box for it. When it gets dark, this switch right here will kick a timer off that 3 hours after dark, when we're basically still awake and using power and all that, it'll then kick on that relay and start sending this 24 volt power into this 80 amp MPPT, because you got to remember, the volts go on the half, the amps go back, see, go back up. And coming out of that, and you want to match it to your battery, see, 80 amp, 80 amp. So they'll be coming out and they'll go to the 12 volt bank. It'll be basically the same as 160 term amps that will be going into 12 volts. So you got about 1,800 watts of solar for the hour or so in the middle of the night going in the battery bank. Now the plan is this is a basic setup. This could be bigger, it could be smaller, it could be different size, could be different methods, but the idea is something that I have trial and error, and it's working. So we have a guy that's down there in Menard, Texas, that has a setup where he's got 3 of these, and they're 65 amp, and he's got 3 80 amp controllers, and they're just these. That's all they are, is this right here, this exact set, PWM, because you don't need to be hunting. It doesn't need multi-point tracking. Get it? All right. So you can use this. You don't have to have an MPPT. Doesn't refine anything. Now, these have a low voltage cutoff. This has a low voltage cutoff. The low voltage cutoff, you see that, will operate a load switch that operates a normally closed. So click, click. Now remember, it'll go open and it'll cut power when it reaches what it wants, when you preset. That's kind of cool. So I'm going to show you here what we're working with. Now this is just a little 4 amp hour battery. I think they'll get an open surge of about 7, but it's about a 4 amp hour battery. And right now, this is an older battery, but proof of concept. So I know people are going to go like, you can't run your house on that, man. Hold on, hold my beer. I'll show you what I'm talking about. I don't need to hear that. I already know that. What we're talking about here is the proof of concept. So you're looking at LiPo batteries that are going to run you, say, a 100 amp hour battery, $500-600. Okay? And lead acid battery, a couple $100, 230 amp hour. Which one do you want? Technically, lithium batteries are still about 280%. Now, if they were only 200% or less than 200%, then there's a viable option for a lot of things. But the reason we're running lead acid is you might look in the news and wonder when an EMP goes and kills everything you got except for that. And most of our things run on 12 volts. Our lighting, we have cook appliances, we have refrigeration, it's all run on 12 volts, so we don't worry. I'm going to hook this up. I'm going to move it over here in front of the nice pretty picture. My scribblies. That's pretty good, huh? Did Kira do that work? No, you didn't do that work. So I'm going to show you. We're hooked up to negative on the battery. Our current voltage in this unit right here is 10 volts. Okay? And you see the solar panel right now is showing nothing. It's night. It's nighttime, basically, okay? But how long is it going to be nighttime? So, okay, let's see. Let me give you a little rendition of what we're doing. 8:45 at night. Click. Sends a signal. That thing starts. It's a little 555 timer with the preset that's right there on that trimmer for your time. 3 hours. It'll max out 3.5 hours. So 110 minutes. 110 minutes later, click, kicks this on. This now makes the connection between your battery and your MPPT over here. So you're staying powered by the battery so that this is not getting hit. You're always supposed to hook up your controllers to power first, to your battery. This controller has to go to battery first before you ever hook up solar. So that'll be hot proper. This will be hot proper. You see how that works? So that's going to send power now, just like the sun came up and the solar panel came on. Now your maximum potential and your maximum potential. See, 80, 80. You want to stay within those bounds. Now these can pull more, but if you stay within these bounds, you can run this down to 0% basically. This will take it back and start charging it again because the BMS will cut this thing off at 5%, and it'll still show a registered voltage to keep that alive. You ain't gonna worry. But we're going to be using that system right there, the load, in a normally open or a normally closed, to just do a pull disconnect. So when it reaches voltage to turn on the light, instead it'll be disconnecting the power to this. When that disconnects, this all shuts off and disconnects everything back here. Kind of a cool setup. All it needs to do is reach the voltage. Our goal is reaching 13.8 volts. So the power at 24 volts will come out. It will go into the charge controller, just like 24 volts of solar. It'll come back out and it'll charge the battery. Now, I want to show you this. And this is, look, you might even see a small arc. A tiny one. Barely seen it. All right, now that's hooked up. Now, I want to show you here. Boom. What do you see in there? Okay, turn the work lights off. They're messing with my camera. Now look, that just came on because we're now bringing voltage up. We were at 10 volts. We were at 10 volts. I'm pushing in 3.7 to 4 amps. Now, you see how that's flashing? That's flashing because the BMS is reacting in a pulse. It's trying to act like it's running a power tool with a fault. We won't have that problem with this. So there you go. It's 4 amps, 14.2 volts. The battery is showing its charge cycle. It's got a nice big happy face right there. It's getting to 99% from 0%. Now, of course, this is a small 18 amp hour battery. So there we go. And you see, it's telling it that it's charging. You see it? Now the BMS, because the battery's getting a little bit warm, the tool batteries are not this great for this, unless you have like 6 of them on there. I tried it with 3, so I actually had 3 of these wired up in the test, and it didn't do none of this stuff. Okay, so it is the tool battery doing that. But look at the amperage. It's peaking out about 4, but the battery itself is starting to lose its percentage. But it's putting the charge through here, just like if you're a limb or something is waving in front of your solar panel, okay? Or you're having a cell covered up or a bird flying over, it's kind of behaving the same way. It's not harmful to none of this. So now you get the idea that, and let's go ahead and disconnect. I'll disconnect it, and you'll see the volts drop. Of course they'll drop. because there's no more charge coming in. And now a battery, and this is old. This is about a 4-year-old battery in here. A battery that was sitting at 10 volts, 9.9 volts, is now hanging on. Look at that. Took a good charge. And what did we do it for? The video's been going for about 9 minutes. So we did it for about 4.5 minutes, 5 minutes. Now just imagine it going for 2 hours for that setup. See, now look, the bulb is on because it is above on and off, load on voltage. See? And when it gets to 11.8, which it probably won't do, of course I'm burning power, and this is burning some power, not much. Look at that. Now I can hook it back up, and it'll do it again. There. Showing solar power in, see? Voltage coming up. So that is a charge from a 20-volt battery, not a 24. These are actually only 19.8. Y'all know that. At top charge, they come off the charger at like 20.2, immediately drop to 19.8 as soon as you click them in the tool. So we're looking at 24-volt battery that'll be about 27 at top charge, and big difference in that. And these controllers handle 36 volts coming in for a 12-volt battery and 48 for a 24-volt battery, so they're no problem. But you see that. They're coming in, the little click and charge, and then I'll take that loose again. So you see what it's done. In other words, you could take like a jump starter, same kind of setup, and you take 2 jump starters, wire them together, you get basically about 28 volts, almost the same effect. But this is a concept that you just learned about. So the game is to use basically 10% lithium to extend the life of these batteries, because if you keep them down or away from their low DOD, depth of discharge, if they stay above, say, 65%, you can get 10 to 12 years out of these batteries. But if you let them go down under 50% too many times and there's nothing to bump them back up before it's too late, in other words, like sun coming up at 3 in the morning, that's basically what this is like. The sun come up 2 or 3 in the morning, ran for an hour and a half, the batteries never got below 12.6. There you go. That's kind of what it's like. And you can do this with 24, 48, whatever you want to build this for, whatever controllers you want to use. But the theory is proven that it works to charge. I'm just using a tool battery. Sorry for that. If I had that, it would be much cleaner, much cleaner outcome. But there you go. Sun, solar, charge a lithium battery. Lithium battery controlled by dusk sensor, kicks on a timer, throws the power through an SSR, feeds it into a controller, going to here. It's not complicated. It's common sense. All right, and there it is. You saw it, started at 10 volts, sitting there at 12.2, and that's not bad for a 4-year-old battery in just a few seconds of an example. So there you go, and this little thing has a inverter in the back of it and everything else. If you ever wonder what the inverters look like in these, here it is. That's what it looks like. There's all your wires and push buttons and fuse blocks, and that's it. All right, y'all be good, guys. Any questions on why it works, how it works, and how we're going to build this system, stay tuned. Subscribe. Look for more videos. Be alert that I'm going to build this little small power wall and all of this, and it's going to sit right over here. So if you ain't tuned in the channel, it's going to sit right over here underneath that, and little flat power wall right there with 80 amps in it, and it's going to shoot juice back in them main batteries. These batteries down here, we're going to do about the same thing with them. I'm thinking about doing the same thing with those, making them 36 volt, going through that one and back into the system, and using another 500 watts of solar so that I have 36 volts sitting here. And even if they deteriorate down to 10 volts, guess what? They'll still boost my old batteries back before they get too low. Just waste stuff. I mean, just cheap stuff. Cheap way of not having to buy massive batteries. Y'all like that? Comment below. I want to hear the naysayers just as well as the people that are happy to see something being thought about. And if you really want to get down to the brass tacks of why we're doing this, it's math, okay? My last set of good quality golf cart batteries lasted me right at 10 years. Everybody says, well, you can only get like 5 cycles out of them. I'm tired of hearing that. It's not true. All right, so this battery set that we got, and I hope my math is accurate, is our lead acid amps, 2,650 amps. Now we're going to divide that by 2 so that we can say that the batteries are only good for 50%. We'll just say that, and all agree, but that's 1,325 amps. That price was $3,090, all right? And those are EMP safe. EMP will not hurt those batteries, even though the federal government says so. So, you know, of course they lie, but I think they're probably accurate on that one. Now, to get 1,300 amps, not even 1,325, but 1,300 amps of lithium batteries, and say we can get them at a good price, 500 to 550, you'll need 13 of them, 100 amp batteries. You need to pray that the Chinese-made BMS don't fail in one and screw up all the rest of them, or one of the balancers go bad. You know, that's what you got to do. And anybody who claims that they're good for, you know, 100,000 cycles or whatever, you know, that's fine. They haven't been out that long. You can't prove that. We do know they're good for about probably 2,000, okay? And the batteries I've had have lasted nearly that at a much lower price, half the price. So you're looking at a good price. And even if China don't decide to punish us for whatever's going on in the world, you're still going to pay $6,500 to $7,000 for the same amount of power. All right. So the problem you've got is they are an EMP risk. We proved that the other day with a linear amplifier for a ham radio, CB ham radio setup, that caused a BMS in a motorhome to fire out. That's what he called it. One of the balancers, one of the MOSFETs got something happened to it, and it shut down. Just one of them. I think it's had like 12 of them in it. It shut down. So his whole battery was crap. And it's one of those welded shut or glued shut ones, so you couldn't do crap with it. Send it back to the manufacturer. That's what you had to do. So if you have an EMP or whatever, that's the problem. Another thing is you have to have special controllers. If it's not dialed in or can be made for lithium, well, you're screwed. These can't be made for lithium. They're only $60, 55, $60. I'll put a link down there. Look below the video. I'll put links to any of these parts if I can find them again. I'll put links to them, and you can go do this test yourself, okay? And you look at me. I got all kinds of inverters sitting up here, all kinds. I deal with a lot of stuff. So here's the whole outcome right there. That's the outcome. Now, if you're wondering what this is down here, you guys tune in here in a few days. I'm going to show you this big mega 1.5 by 2.5 inch bus bar and how we're going to be putting all of our stuff into it. Here's what we're going to be using over here with big 3/0 wire. There's piles and piles and piles. Probably shouldn't make the video this long. Piles and piles and piles and piles. 1/0, 2 gauge, more 1/0 and 2 gauge, a lot of 4. I don't know, I got probably about 1,000 pounds of wire sitting in here, you know, and I do jobs. It's not just for this place. That right there is all the wire for here. So we come down to this simple conclusion here. Half the price, EMP safe, recyclable. Those batteries are $30 a piece when I bring them in. These batteries here now, they're charging people. I don't know everywhere, but I know that in Idaho they charge people to get rid of these. They don't. You have to pay to ship them. You don't have to pay to like dispose of them because they want them. They want them to recycle them, but you got to pay to drop them off now. They used to have tool battery collections. All right, so there's your factors. There's your realities. So if you've got 10% lithium in a design like this and 90% lead acid, you can more than give 30 to 40% more lifespan to your lead acid. You'll have that power hit of lead acid without a failure point of a BMS or something going bad. It's just a battery, big battery. And all these other components, dirt cheap. So you can build this setup and you can have your lead acid constantly maintained above 12.4, 12.5 volts all the time. And you never have a problem. And another thing is, if you've got a generator, you want to talk about a miserable way to treat a battery, ask RV owners. When their generator kicks on and their charge controller in their RV hits their lithium batteries, they don't like that. A lot of them are having problems. Now, some of the more modern controllers in those RVs are okay, but majority of people don't own those. So there's facts. All right, guys, y'all be good. Long video. Hopefully this makes some sense to people so you can hybrid it yourself. It's a safe process. All right.